What 4 words could stop you from talking yourself into handcuffs tonight? If you freeze during a traffic stop, your own mouth can become the officer's best evidence. One nervous answer can turn a warning into more questions, a search, and then a very bad night. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you is easy to forget when your heart is pounding. Like this video too, so you can find it fast on the day you actually need it. You're about to learn 4 short lines that keep you from saying way too much. You're going to see when to use them, why they work, and how one calm sentence can stop an officer from turning small talk into a fishing trip. Here's the reality. Most traffic stops do not get worse because of magic police powers. They get worse because you talk, you explain, you guess, you try to sound nice. Then you hand over facts the officer did not even have yet. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the pattern is always the same. The driver thinks they're helping. Then, their own words become the reason the stop keeps going. In this video, you'll learn the 4 words in the title, the follow-up line that shuts down casual questions, the exact sentence that helps end the stop, and the line that blocks consent traps before they start. Now let's talk about why this matters so much for you. A traffic stop feels casual, but it is not casual for you. Your brain goes fast. Your mouth goes faster. An officer asks where you're coming from, where you're going, whether you had anything to drink, whether there's anything illegal in the car, whether they can take a quick look. Most people have no idea that every answer gives the officer more pieces to work with. If you say you're coming from one place, then later say another, that sounds suspicious. If you laugh when you're nervous, that looks suspicious too. If you keep talking to prove you're innocent, you might give away enough details to create a whole new problem. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Your best protection is not a long speech. Your best protection is a short one. The first line is the one from the title, and you need to burn it into your memory right now. Here's exactly what you say. I invoke the 5th. Word for word. Memorize that line. You're not yelling it. You're not being rude. You're saying it in a calm voice after you give the basic things the law can require, like your license, your registration, and in some places your name. After that, this line tells the officer, you are not volunteering answers that can be used against you later. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because clear words matter. Silence by itself can get twisted. Nervous chatter gets twisted even worse. Let me show you exactly why this line matters. In Berghuis versus Tompkins, the Supreme Court basically said you need to clearly say you want to stop talking. Just sitting there is not always enough. Plain English. Plain. If you want the protection, you should say the protection. That is why these 4 words are so powerful. They are short, they are clear, they are hard to misunderstand. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. You are not playing games. You are using a right and naming it out loud. Bad way. Most drivers say, I only had 1 beer, or I'm just tired, or I'm coming from my friend's place, well, actually my cousin's place. Then the officer hears changing details, possible drinking and nervous rambling, and the stop gets bigger. Good way. Smart drivers say, I invoke the 5th. Then the officer gets fewer free facts, fewer guesses to build on, and fewer chances to twist your words. Watch what happens when you use this the right way. The officer asks, where are you headed tonight? You hand over your documents, stay calm, and say, I invoke the 5th. Then you stop filling the silence. That last part matters. If you say the line and then keep talking, you just blew your own shield. Your job is not to win the chat. Your job is to stop the damage. And let me be clear for you, this line does not mean you refuse lawful commands. If the officer says, step out of the car, you step out calmly. If the officer asks for your license, you hand it over. If your state requires your name during a lawful stop, you give your name. Then you go right back to the line. I invoke the 5th. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the whole feel of the stop. You stop acting like a witness against yourself. You stop giving away your timeline, your mood, your plans, and your mistakes. You make the officer do the work without your help. Have you ever had an officer ask where you were going or where you were coming from? Drop a comment below, because your answer in that moment can change everything. Now the second line is the one that keeps you from getting pulled into fake friendly conversation. You look at the officer and say this, I don't answer questions. Those exact 4 words are simple, clean, and easy to remember. Use them after you handle the basic legal stuff. This line matters because a lot of drivers think the danger comes from the big, scary questions. It usually doesn't. It comes from the casual ones. How's your night going? You in a hurry? Got anything in the car I should know about? Those sound harmless. They are not harmless for you. They are designed to get you talking. Here's the reality. Officers are trained to listen for little cracks in your story. They listen for delay. They listen for over-explaining. They listen for words like, honestly, to be real, and I swear. That is why this line is so strong. I don't answer questions. It doesn't argue. It doesn't accuse. It doesn't confess. It doesn't give the officer a fresh trail to follow. This is 100% legal when you use it after giving the required information. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection when the stop starts shifting from traffic business into fishing for extra evidence. Bad way. Most drivers say, "No, nothing illegal. But my friend had weed in here last week," or "I'm not drunk, I just left a bar, but I was the designated driver." Then the officer suddenly has a reason to ask 10 more questions. Good way. Smart drivers say, "I don't answer questions." Then the officer gets a wall instead of a doorway. There is one important thing you need to know. In Hebel versus 6th Judicial District Court, the Supreme Court said some states can require you to identify yourself during a lawful stop. Plain English. In some places, you may have to give your name. Fine, do that. But that does not mean you have to chat about your night, your friends, your plans, or what is in your trunk. You give what is required, then you stop the interview before it starts. That's the difference. And don't fall for the pressure move where the officer says, "If you've got nothing to hide, why not just answer?" Your rights are not only for guilty people, your rights are for you on your worst, most nervous, most careless day. If you are innocent, you can still talk yourself into trouble. If you are guilty of nothing, you can still say something wrong. If you are tired, scared, or confused, your own voice can dig a hole faster than any officer can. That's why this line works. It protects you from yourself. You'll notice something else too. When you stop answering questions, the officer has to decide whether there is a real legal reason to keep pushing or whether they were just hoping you would help them. That moment matters. A lot of stops live or die right there. You are not being difficult. You are being disciplined. The third line is how you stop a finished traffic stop from turning into a bonus investigation. Listen closely because this is critical. Once the ticket or warning is done, once your documents are back, once the traffic part is clearly wrapping up, you ask one calm question. Am I free to leave? Say it just like that. Not angry, not smart-mouthed. Calm and clear. That question forces the moment into the open. Either the stop is over for you, or the officer is saying you are still being detained. And if you are still being detained, the officer needs a real legal reason, not just a hunch and not just curiosity. This is where Rodriguez versus United States matters for you. The Supreme Court said police cannot drag out a traffic stop longer than needed just to chase something unrelated without more reason. Plain English. They cannot turn your broken taillight into a never-ending roadside interview just because they feel like it. That means timing matters. Do not blurt this out in the first 5 seconds. You wait until the traffic business is done, or clearly should be done. Then you use the line. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Sure, I can stay and talk." Or, "Yeah, go ahead. What else do you need?" Then the finished stop becomes a brand new chance to dig through your life. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Am I free to leave?" Then the officer has to either let them go or openly claim a legal reason to hold them. Watch what happens when you use this well. The officer hands back your license and says, "Hold on a second. Mind if I ask you a few more questions?" That is your moment. You say, "Am I free to leave?" If the answer is yes, you leave calmly. If the answer is no, you do not argue. You do not explain. You do not negotiate. You go right back to your other lines. I invoke the fifth. I don't answer questions. That is how smart drivers stop a short stop from becoming a long mistake. This also protects you from the biggest trap of all, which is feeling relieved too early. The warning is written. Your documents are back. Your brain thinks the hard part is over. Then you get relaxed. Then you start chatting. Then you give consent, give explanations, or give the officer a reason to keep going. "Am I free to leave?" is the line that snaps you back into focus. It tells you whether the stop is truly over or whether you are still inside the danger zone. Most people already clicked away. If you're still here, you're in the top 10%. Drop a comment saying "I'm still here," because this next move is where smart drivers protect themselves for real. The fourth line is the shield for your car, your bags, and everything else you carry. You look at the officer and say this: "I do not consent to searches," word for word. Memorize that one too. If you want, you can add "officer" at the front, but keep the rest the same. Short is better for you. Clean is better for you. You are not debating law on the roadside. You are making your position clear. This matters because consent is one of the easiest ways people give up protection without even noticing. The officer says, "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" Or, "Mind opening the trunk for me?" Or, "If there's nothing there, this will only take a minute." That sounds small. It is not small. Once you say yes, you just helped open the door. In Schneckloth vs. Bustamante, the Supreme Court said a consent search can be valid even if the person did not know they could refuse. Plain English. The law may still treat your "sure, go ahead" as real permission. That is why your refusal must be clear. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I guess that's fine," or "I don't have anything to hide." Then the search starts and later they have a much harder time fighting it. Good way. Smart drivers say, I do not consent to searches. Then, even if the officer searches anyway, your refusal is on the record instead of your permission. This is 100% legal. You can refuse consent without raising your voice, without acting hostile, and without making the stop worse. And if the officer searches anyway, do not resist, do not grab, do not block, just keep your body calm and your words short. I do not consent to searches. That helps you later because the record shows you did not invite the search. If a court ever looks at what happened, that difference can matter a lot. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it draws a bright line between your choice and the officer's choice. Now let's tie all of this together for you. Berghuis v. Tompkins tells you clear words matter when you want to stop talking, plain English. If you want protection, say it clearly. Rodriguez v. United States tells you a traffic stop cannot be stretched longer than needed just to go hunting for something else without more reason. Plain English. A ticket stop is supposed to stay a ticket stop unless police get a real new reason. Schneckloth v. Bustamante tells you consent can open the door to a search even when people do not fully understand what they just gave away. Plain English. Your polite yes can cost you a lot. So your 4 lines work together like a wall. I invoke the 5th stops the talking. I don't answer questions stops the fishing. Am I free to leave? Tests whether the stop is actually over. I do not consent to searches blocks the easiest trap of all. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in real life for you. Picture a normal stop at night. You are going a little over the limit. The lights come on, your heart is racing. The officer walks up and asks where you're coming from. Wrong move first. You smile and say you were just at a friend's house. Then you add it was actually a birthday dinner. Then you joke that you only had 1 drink hours ago. Now the officer has 3 things: a changing story, a possible bar or party, and a reason to keep talking. Then the officer asks if there's anything illegal in the car. You say no, but your cousin left a bag in the back last week. Now the stop is exploding because you tried to sound honest. Now the right way for you, you pull over safely, your window is down, your hands stay visible. You give your license and registration when asked. If your name is required, you give it. After that, the officer asks where you're headed. You say, I invoke the 5th. If the officer keeps pushing with casual questions, you say, I don't answer questions. Calm voice. No attitude. The officer goes back, checks your info, and returns with a warning. Then comes the trap. Hey, before you go, mind if I ask you a few more things? You ask, am I free to leave? If the officer says yes, you leave. If the officer says no and asks to search, you say, I do not consent to searches. Then you stop talking again. That is the difference. In the wrong version, your own mouth gave the officer a bigger case. In the right version, your calm lines kept the stop narrow, forced clear choices, and protected your rights without drama. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings, and it works best when you stay boring, calm, and brief. Next week, I'm breaking down what to say when an officer claims they smell weed. Subscribe right now, because that line gets people searched every single day, and the next video shows you how to answer without making your situation worse. So remember this. Your first job is not to sound innocent. Your first job is to stop feeding the stop. I invoke the 5th keeps you from talking yourself into trouble. I don't answer questions shuts down the fake friendly fishing. Am I free to leave? Tells you whether the stop is really over. I do not consent to searches protects your car and your record if the officer keeps pushing. You do not need a speech. You need a few clean lines and the discipline to stop talking after you say them. Hit subscribe so you catch that next video on the smell of weed trap. Smash the like button if this just gave you a plan you can actually remember under pressure. And drop a comment telling me which line you think you'd use first. Stay safe out there.